yourself living in a shotgun shack. You may find yourself in another part of the world. You may find yourself treading water in a large swimming pool. You may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife. You may ask yourself, son, why bada-badu?
With nacho badon, benzi kabuna chapa. With nacho badon, kuch kabuna chamcha down. Delco blue bagu, Wagner dash wapsau. Lushana zapsing, kuch kabuna chamcha down.
You may ask yourself, what turkey narbler? And you may ask yourself, what's abraka litzafazoo? You may tell yourself, that's a nala kalamadi. You may tell yourself, that's a nala kalamazoo.
With nacho badon, benzi kabuna chapa. With nacho badon, kuch kabuna chamcha down. Delco blue bagu, Wagner dash wapsau. Lushana zapsing, kuch kabuna chamcha down.
Sim City Yabaglu, 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 Sim City Yabaglu. You may ask yourself, Urchador, Lord Monroe. You may ask yourself, Messate, Messavor. You may say to yourself, Dag Dag, Chadwa Bador.
With nacho badon, benzi kabuna chapa. With nacho badon, kuch kabuna chamcha down. Delco blue bagu, Wagner dash wapsau. Lushana zapsing, kuch kabuna chamcha down. Delco blue bagu, Lixado sakabuna. Voice I mean blagadon, George kabuna chamcha down. With nacho badon, Lixado sakabuna. Lushana zapsing, kuch kabuna chamcha down.
Sim City Yabaglu, 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 Sim City Yabaglu. September Shangate, September Holiday, September Shangate, September Shangaball, September Shangate, September
All right. This is a very special Dwelling of Duels. I'm evilsonic. With me tonight is TheManPF.
Hey.
And yeah, so if you're here and you don't know what Dwelling of Duels is, that's kind of weird, but I'll bite. Dwelling of Duels is a monthly video game music competition where there is a theme and people make music that fits that theme. We keep it anonymous, we vote on it, and we listen to it. It's great. What tonight is about is we're talking about collaborating. Because I don't know if anyone noticed, but there's a lot of collaboration in DoD. It's one of those things that is a lot of fun. It might be a little daunting to those who have not done it before. And I don't know, it seems like a fun idea. I kind of want to do this, like, I don't know, at least 5 more times with different people, because there are a lot of different things to go over collaborating with. The Man, you have very kindly joined us for tonight because you are one of the best damn collaborators I am aware of, and
Thank you.
You've got a great approach to it. I kind of wanted tonight to be sort of the organizational, the making it happen, how we do all of that, and just in my own experience and what I have heard from others who've been lucky enough to share in that experience as well. I think you're a pretty righteous person to be talking to about this exact thing.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate
I don't think of myself as like this big organizer, I guess, but I've heard comments of people saying they enjoyed it, so I guess I am.
Yeah. Take it. You earned that compliment, so you can take it, you can live with it. And I remember I don't, it's a track that's gonna come up later, but we don't need to hide it. But I remember when you worked with Jackie, aka Andromeda, for the Spirit in Red. I think we had done a bunch of things together at that point, but I had not yet been on one of your tracks where you were the primary, so I hadn't seen like your process. But she was blown away by just the amount of effort that went into providing notes and references and resources, and it's just the sort of thing where sometimes collaborating is a little bit... one of the things that I feel daunted about is I'm often concerned someone will say, yeah, you can work with me, and then they won't realize until later that I don't know what I'm doing half the time, and I sometimes need my hand held and to be led through every step of the way. So if somebody's just like, here's a wave, you know how to play off this, I'm like, no, I don't. But if somebody's got a bunch of sheet music and maybe a MIDI or a MuseScore file or something, then I can work with that. So we have some tracks tonight. The Man and I we're looking over our catalogs. We've got a few songs that, honestly, I just put together a playlist that is, I would say, half stuff we're going to talk about in depth and half music that I like that one of us made with other people. And we're going to talk about the process, enjoy some music, and I guess answer questions. Now, I'm sorry that you have a doctor's appointment. We will be uploading it to YouTube, so you will get to see this later. The Man, am I forgetting anything before? Anything you want to say? Preamble, introduction before we start our first block of tracks?
I guess we can just jump right into it. Just want to say thank you for having me. I think this is definitely the first DoD stream that I'm in, but it's also like the first stream probably ever that I'm in, so it's a cool experience, I guess.
Nice. I'm delighted to be here with you. I'm glad that we could be on this journey together. Also, just a heads up, the first track that I've got earmarked for us to talk about is going to be coming up in like 3 minutes. So I'm not going to tell you which one, but you'll be surprised. And then once that song's done playing, we're going to have another little break and we'll talk about it. I can tell you if you want, but I also think it's fun if I don't tell you. So
Let's keep it a mystery.
Okay.
I like mysteries.
I know, your Discord handle at the moment implies as such. So,
Yeah.
keep it right here, because this is a very special dwelling of duels. Duels, duels, duels.
This was a triumph. I'm playing some notes here, small success. It's hard to overstate my lack of action. Dwelling of duels. We did a punch test because we can. For the good of all of us, except the ones who hear this. But there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you make what you make. And the entry gets done, but it's not your best one. But you're keeping your streak still alive. I'm not even trying. I'm actually pretty drunk right now. Even though I have to work tomorrow, I could have done Terra or Wiley Stage 1 from and 2. I could have submitted last week and then I would be done. Evilsonic's rhythm is just out of time, but he threw this together just before the deadline. This is not our best stuff, but I guess it's good enough, and we're keeping our streak still alive.
spice up, fill the air. Suddenly, heart and mind start to race. Let me pull you closer, only for a moment. Candlelights and Chardonnay. Oh, ornament, compliment. In my grandeur, I'm all natural behind this finer time. In my glamour, I'm all natural beneath pearls, opulence, extravagance. What you need is what I got only heaven without a thought, only fire. I got all you desire, so don't hold back, let loose and sit back and enjoy the ride. Oh, it's what you get only passion, no regrets, only try love. I got nothing to hide, so sit back and enjoy the
All right. We're back on the microphones. People can hear us now, the man, for I have
Hello.
changed the output level. Earlier, I was asked if we could be heard while the music was playing, and I said no. These dumb fuckers can't hear a thing.
Yeah, I didn't want them to hear me while I was talking shit about them.
By these dumb fuckers, I obviously mean this wonderful community of people that I absolutely love making and listening music to and with. And yeah, I see a bunch of names in the chat, some friendly faces that I know, some friendly faces that I'm getting to know. The man, tell us what we just heard.
All right, so I think this one is one of the better examples I have from the songs I made for, like, as an example of getting a huge collab group together. I had this source in mind for like a year before we actually had a chance to do it. I was actually saving it for like a Final Fantasy month or something, and then it came along and I just immediately started getting everyone I wanted. The thing with getting collabs together is I think there's like two different ways you can go about it. I think you and me usually have the same, more or less the same method, as in we already know who we're gonna get. We already know, we have people in mind, you know. I'm very in touch with DoD. I listen to every song every month. I know what everyone does. I know what everybody's talents are. So whenever I have a song in mind, I know who I'm getting. I know who I'm contacting for it. And that song, I already have everyone in mind a year prior, and I got everyone on board. I didn't have any issues with that. But I think it's a good thing to like clarify, because then there's the other type of collab when you don't know who you're gonna get. Like you have this idea, but you have no idea who plays what. You have no idea who can bring that talent for you. So in those cases, you will be going to the collabs channel and maybe pinging a role and saying, hey, I'm looking for a singer, I'm looking for a violin player or a sax player or whatever. And I have little to no experience in doing collabs that way. So I have no idea how to go about it that way. I usually know exactly who I'm gonna get, and I think, or I at least I believe you do it some like similarly to me.
Yeah, I've done it both ways. There are a lot of times where I'll have the source and the song in mind, and I'll know exactly who I want to do what. And we've got some tracks in here where I think I can point that out. There are some times when I'm not quite sure what to expect, or sometimes I'll know I want to collaborate with somebody because I've heard their music and I like it, but I don't know what the process is until we're in it together. Because there's some people who you hand them the music that you want to work on, and they will do it. They'll knock it out of the park as is, and then there are some people who will take it and develop it and bring ideas to the table that you hadn't even thought of, and so there's that. There have been a few times where I've pinged the collabs channel. Not a ton. The one time I can remember semi-recently was, it's not actually on our playlist tonight, but for Jock Jams and Earl, which started out, I think it was just going to be like me and Connor Engstrom, and we knew Juju was going to do some voices, and Angry Polar Bear was going to do keys. At first, I was going to play bass, but as Connor started getting his hands on it and making it the beast that it became, I was like, I am not good enough to play bass on this. We're already like most of the way through the month. I need someone who can slap and just do it like amazingly on short notice. And I think I pinged the bass channel, and Carrie replied, and I was like, hey, I like working with Carrie, and it's cool that she's available, so let's make this happen. In that case, it wasn't necessarily a surprise or somebody I hadn't worked with before, because we actually did a track just that month before, but yeah, I think that's... I know there are other times I've used the collabs channel, I just can't remember off the top of my head what that would have been for. I usually don't arrange for things when I don't know who I'm going to be working for, or with, rather.
Yeah, same.
And sometimes I'll just like, there are times where I'll write something, I'm like, I know that if I get you on it, you'll knock it out, you'll do exactly what's needed, and then you'll come up with some other stuff, and you'll turn something that was originally intended to be like a keys part and do a decent, you'll knock it out on guitar. I don't remember if that's actually happened, but I imagine it could.
We did something like that on Turing Test.
Yeah, there were. I know that you brought a lot of like synth stuff and like other effects to that one. That one I do have in tonight's playlist, so we're gonna talk about that one a little bit later. So you got everyone from a view for a view from the top. You knew it a year ahead of time, and you didn't have any trouble getting everyone. That is lucky.
That was total luck.
I have at least one project right now that I have wanted to do for almost 3 years. And it's just, I know exactly who I want for it, and I just can't get everyone on the same page at the same time. But that's, I know it'll happen soon. And in the meantime, I'm not letting myself work on it, because that's part of the fun of DoD is you have a month. You don't have 3 years, and I want to keep it fresh and, lively, so I'm not going to jump the gun. I'm going to wait until the stars align, I've got all those people, and we do the thing.
Yeah, I'm lucky because even like looking at the song, I had one, two, three, four people in that group that I've never collabed with before. So I had no idea what their how they were in terms of collabing. If they did things fast, if they took their time, if they could improvise or whatever. So it was a first experience with Pinga Simon and Kev and Wake and Michelle Draven. But also I heard them before. I don't think I need to collab with Wake to know that he's very prolific. I don't think I need to collab with Kev to know that he's a beast. Like, I can just hear what he does. I can just see all of his work. And I will already know, like, this is the guy for the job. I'm actually a little surprised. The other day he said this was one of his favorite tracks to collab in because he loves to play jazz. And I never do jazz ever. This is like one of my, I think, 2 or 3 jazz tracks that I have. It's very rare for me to do a jazz track. But yeah, like, for this one, I brought in everyone that I already had in mind. These are people that I've heard before. Or in the case, for example, of Joe or Ronan, these are people that I worked with before and I know they're great collab partners. They always bring everything they can to the work they're doing. And I think an important thing to know about the collabs I do is that I always try to have everything prepared early, or at least organized. So I'm a Patreon supporter, so I can start arranging things when the theme is announced for patrons, like a few days before the public announcement of the theme. And I try to do it as early as I can, like gather everyone early, tell them, hey, I want to do this song, are you available? Having that confirmed from very early on helps a lot in having them available and having them be able to bring their parts in time. And I think that's very important if you're planning a collab. You have to do things early. Even if you don't have the arrangement yet, at least like shoot a DM to someone and say, hey, I'm planning this. Are you on board? So I can know beforehand if I can count on you. It's also a good thing to know before you start arranging, so you have that person in mind when you arrange. That is something that I do a lot. I arrange knowing who is going to play it. If I have someone like Joe in my team, for example, I know that he's a beast on improvisation, so I can just... I don't think I even need to put an improv section. He will just do it anyway, you know? If it was for him, he would improvise the whole song. He's just like that. He can do that. So I can arrange with him in mind. That helps a lot in like smoothing out the process a little bit. But that is only in the cases where you know who you're collabing with. I don't have a lot of experience in doing collabs where I don't know who I'm gonna bring, or like having an arrangement in the middle of the month and going, who wants to be a part of this? I think that's a little bit, it can be a little bit of a crapshoot, I think.
Yeah.
So it depends how many risks you want to take with it. I usually try to be more organized than that.
Yeah. I was trying to get the Patreon, like, because what you were just saying about having those extra days to get organized in Patreon, I thought it'd be great if I could get Twitch to tell us about Patreon. But it broke. JC, fix it. I don't know how computers work.
Me neither.
So we broke Twitch. Yeah, I think, and part of, I think you and I are in a similar boat. I probably do this more often because I tend to be less organized, but there are some people that I've collaborated with enough times that if it's close to the end of the month and I'm still not there yet, there are some people who I feel comfortable reaching out to and just saying, hey, last minute, maybe you don't have a chance to do this, but, you know, let's give it a shot. I think you're pretty good at that. I think Ian Martin's amazing at that. There are plenty of people who do that really well. But I mean,
Eric has a good question. How can a newbie getting called up for collabs if they aren't in a bunch of tracks for others to know what they can do? Would it be best to start small and get some tracks out to become more of a known entity? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be good to. I mean, introducing yourself in DoD just by submitting a solo or something that you know, if you know others, or just to throw yourself out there and say, hey, I can play XYZ, and some moron like me might see that and be like, oh, I can get someone who plays XYZ, and they'll join my track. But Darmok makes a good point. You can get your instrument rules assigned in the Discord. You can become one of our legions of guitarists, or one of our 3 harpists, or whichever ones we've got next. But yeah.
The roles are a good point. I think I actually brought this up to Eric like a week ago. Like if you're looking for someone to play a certain instrument and you don't know who to call, in Discord at least you can go to the role channel and you can check who clicked on each role, and you can see like a list of all the people that play each thing, so that at least you get an idea of who to call. I don't know how much this question applies to Eric himself. Like, I know your work. I know I heard you several times in DoD. Like, I know what you can do. I know your talents. I don't know if like you're in any need to show off more than you have, but also it would be really cool if you still did. I think both collabing and making arrangements, like just put yourself out there, is the best way. It can be either or, if you're doing your own track or if you're collabing with someone else. But the good thing is to like show off your talents, you know, show off what you can do so people can hear it, and so people can remember it later and say, hey, I heard Eric in that track and he played trumpet and he kicked ass, so now I need a trumpet and I'm reminded of him because I heard that track before. That's at least how it works for me. But I don't know if I can guarantee a way to get called for collabs, because I organize a lot of collabs myself, but I don't get called for collabs as much. I don't think I have as much experience on that.
Yeah, me too, probably. And every time somebody does ask me to collaborate, I'm always like, are you sure? Like, there are a bunch of people who can do what you're looking for a little bit better than me. And even more people can do it a lot better. But I'll still, in the collabs channel, not every month, but some months I'll put my hat in the ring and say, does anybody want, you know, mediocre bass or haphazard guitar? And yeah, just like posting in collabs to say I'm around is an option. Even, you know, most people go there to say who's around, but you can be proactive and just, you know, do it from the other end.
Yeah, that's good. Like if you go to a collab channel and say, hey, I'm free this month, I play all of these things, so if you're in need of any of that, I'm free, you know. That's a good way to go about it. Also, I'd say if you have friends who you're asking this for, if you're arranging something, you can invite them, or if you're in another collab and you can, I don't know, maybe recommend them. I've been in a few collabs. It's rare for me that I have to get someone at the last minute, but for example, for Wiley Theme, which just played, I was originally going to have Dakota City Rack play sax and flute, but then he couldn't, so I got Gamer of the Winds on board. And Gamer of the Winds wasn't my choice, it was a suggestion from Dakota. So he told me, hey, this guy is really good, you can invite him instead of me because I'm sick and I cannot play right now. And so we brought him on board. And like, those situations are great because it's the person that's suggesting someone else, not only because they're extremely talented, but also because they're good collab partners, you know. In this case, Gamer of the Winds is one of the most, it's one of the fastest people I collab with. He brings the stems like immediately, not even a day later. It's kind of crazy.
That's incredible to hear from you because I've seen how quickly Zach gets his bass over to you. So.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, Zach deserves all the shoutouts I can give because I don't think he's invited nearly enough. I have him in all my tracks, and it's not only because he's my bestie, but also because he plays really well, but also because he's a great collab partner. He brings his stems really fast, and he plays everything excellently. It's very rare for me to say, hey, you didn't do this well, you have to do it again, or whatever. He does everything perfectly. I don't know. I think he's very underrated both as a bass player and as a collab partner in general. You have to invite him more.
Yeah. I like playing bass, so I'm usually hesitant to invite somebody unless I know it. If I need a slapper, I'll hand it over begrudgingly, but I think we've got some more tracks. Do you have a preference for which one you want to cover next? I've got some, I've got this playlist here, but next up I've got 2 songs that you were primary on, and I know one of those was on the list of stuff we wanted to talk about. So. But I can shift it up if you've got anything you want to touch on next.
I'll let you surprise me.
All right, I like this. I like the surprising.
I like mysteries. You know me.
I do. You're TheManPF. I'm evilsonic, and this is Dwelling of Duels.
Tonight, my dear, I'll capture your heart. Tonight, my dear, we'll fly to bask in glory. Your eyes in my altar. Will you fall in love now? If you can't resist, don't be a martyr. If everything seems the perfect scenery, be quiet. We'll leave our lust take over our cold hearts. So long as you look my way, I'll be the star of your sweet dreams, one you'll always look at, your eyes upon me. I'm here to soothe all your nightmares, your beautiful songstress. For you I'll be the one, my dear. Tonight, my dear, I'll capture your heart. Tonight, my dear, we'll fly to bask in glory. Your eyes in my altar. Will you fall in love now?
Yole, yolo, ole, yoi.
This is a very special Dwelling of Duels where TheManPF and evilsonic talk about collaborating and listen to a few of the tracks that we've made with other people, including each other. We just heard Ribeye Rodeo from I was about to say Insane Club Posse, which isn't a thing. That's from Cuphead. And My Dear from Nier Automata. The man, tell us a little bit about... Oh, yeah, the video. Am I the only one who hasn't recorded video?
I think so, but I forgot about it.
Yeah, I still have my dad's stupid-ass hat that I borrowed 2 years ago to wear for the video, and I haven't done it. Jackie wants me to get rid of this hat so bad. My mom wants me to keep the hat so my dad doesn't have it. It's a lot, everybody. It's a lot. Anyway, so I know you had Ribeye Rodeo on the list of songs to talk about. I did want to just My Dear, what a beautiful track. I love that one. That was August 21. Anything you want to say about that one?
The singer carries the song, you know. I think everyone knows that. The arrangement is fine. I think it could be a little better. The mix is garbage, but that was 2021 TheManPF, so it's understandable. It's not. That's still a pretty incredible
good mix. I know for a fact, like I know where you are now, and I understand why you say that about yourself, but it's still a better mix than you're giving it credit for.
I'm just gonna say this: the vocals sound great, but they came great out of the box. I didn't really do much to it, and that is honestly, at least to me, what carries the entire thing. In terms of collab, I don't know if it's like the best example I have. Nico is a friend of mine, but here's the thing. Nico Vargas is kind of a big deal. They're not like this random person I know. They are like a legit professional voice actor and singer, and they appear in Disney stuff and shit. They're extremely busy. So whenever I collab with them, I actually commission them for it. Oh. And some people are gonna side-eye me for that, but it's not like I just look for somebody online and pay them to sing on it. It's a friend of mine. I'm just paying them because it's more like out of respect for their time. But also there's not a lot to say. Like I did the whole arrangement. I did the mix. If you remember Shinobi Syntax or Sketch the Conductor, the rapper who collabed with me a couple of times, he helped me a little bit with the mix at the time. And that's pretty much it. There's not a lot to say in terms of collaboration there, other than Nico Vargas is an extremely insane singer. And they're a very, very big deal.
Nice. And next up we had the Insane Cup Posse, which was a collaboration that you primaried along with a few other people.
Kind of.
And I remember from my part, I remember at the time you were having computer problems and you were like, I really want to do this track, but I can't mix it. And I was like, I'll mix it. And I feel like that was the best contribution. I know I played guitar on it, but just the fact that I was able to make it be a thing you were able to do that month made me very happy. I
think you need to respect your guitar playing a little more too.
My guitar, yeah, it's gotten, well, it did get better, but I've spent the past year not playing very much, so I need to beef it back up. But yeah, tell us about Ribeye Rodeo.
I think Ribeye Rodeo is like the best example I have of a collab that kind of happened on a whim. Like it's the opposite to what happened with A View from the Top. A View from the Top I had it planned like a year prior. I knew what I wanted. Ribeye Rodeo happened like at the moment, you know. You said I was having computer problems. Like I've always had computer problems. My old computer is garbage, but at the time I was so exhausted. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't even want to submit at the time. But I was just playing the Cuphead DLC and I was obsessed. I'm still obsessed with that game. My favorite level in there and my favorite song is a Wild West song. And right after that they announced a Wild West theme and I'm like,
you gotta.
This is too much of a coincidence. At first I brought it up to Joe and I just sent him a DM of the song and I was like, hey, here's a song that, I don't know, maybe you want to do it. I don't know, maybe, if you feel like it. I don't know if it was him or what happened, but something convinced me to do it myself. in the end, even though I didn't want to do it. But I was like, I think I was talking to you, and we were like, yeah, I'm down to make an arrangement, but I don't want to mix this shit. I really don't want to know anything about mixing, at least for 1 month. And then you suggested to mix, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. That really took off a lot of my shoulders, so that's very appreciated. And like I said, that happened very on the moment. I didn't know who I was gonna bring. I didn't know what I was gonna do. In the end, I think the arrangement is pretty much just a straight cover with a bunch of improv sections, so everyone can have like their chance to shine a little bit. And one thing I find funny about this group is that, in retrospect, I realized that this is basically the TheManPF frequent collaborator group. Yeah. Because it's comprised of all the people that I've collabed with the most. Like, I have Zach on literally every track. I collab a bunch with Joe, with you, with Ronan, with Ian Martin, like more times than I thought. I think maybe Jackie is the only person missing from that list. But like, these are all the people that I've collabed with the most. And so yeah, that's basically how it happened. We just had a song, and we just wanted to have a few sections where everyone could improvise and play their instruments, and we kept adding people like progressively. I think I didn't have all the members in mind at the beginning like I usually do. So I thought, I want a violin, I'm gonna have Ronan. I want some keyboards, I'm gonna have Ian. I want some sax, I'm gonna have Joe. I wanted some acoustic guitars, I'm gonna make you play them. And that's just basically how it happened. It was very, very improvised, kind of like an improvised collab, I'd say.
Yeah, I remember, and I was doing, so that was when I was mixing that one, and that was a lot of fun. It was one of those like projects where if I went back, I'm sure I had like final mix version 57, because there were some things that we just kept, like, I would bounce it and share it, and it was like, move this stem like half of a second a little bit at this bar, and just like, I'm really bad with timing, so if somebody like that was, I felt good about like all the production stuff, like, you know, the EQ, the compression, all that. But whenever somebody says something's out of time and I'm the one mixing, I'm like, somebody better help me, because if you want me to listen to it and figure out how to adjust it to make it sound different in the right way, that's not going to happen with me at the keyboard. Like, so that,
to be fair with you, I think that issue happens a lot with whenever I collab anywhere. For some reason, I don't think if I'm very sensitive to like timing issues. Whenever there's something that's just slightly off time, it really bugs me, and I notice it immediately. But I have a bunch of collabs that with people that I'm not gonna name, but who are usually pretty good at mixing. You know, they're no joke at mixing, and they still make those kind of mistakes where something is just slightly off time, and I'm like, I need to fix this. I don't know. Yeah. I think I'm just sensitive to it.
For me, I fix my stuff so much because my rhythm is just that bad. If I ever sent anything that wasn't doctored up to hell, like, you would think somebody had just run into a guitar and recorded it, like that they weren't actually trying to play it. Yes, Zach, we know that there's an echo. We talked about it a bunch. We agreed that nobody would care, but you made liars of us all.
Yep. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach. Any other notes for, or anything you wanted to say about the Ribeye Rodeo and My Dear?
I guess Ribeye Rodeo is an example I like to bring up about collabing, because I guess it kind of depends on what work you're doing. When I was talking about View from the Top, that was a little more organized because I had an idea in mind. For Ribeye Rodeo, is a very improvised project. It's a project that just happened in the moment, so it worked in that sense because the song was basically just a straight cover of the song with a bunch of improv sections. It didn't have a lot of arrangement work in it, so it's easy to make a quick collab project if there's not a lot going on in the arrangement itself. But whenever I'm doing something like say Wiley theme or whatever, or any other of my bigger projects, it's a lot more difficult to make it that way because I actually have to finish the arrangement first to get an idea how this is going to be before I actually send everything to the other people. It's not something that can happen as fast or as, I don't know, improvised, I guess. You have to organize things first a little bit.
Yeah.
It really depends on what you're doing, what your arrangement is and what style you're doing or what your goal is.
All right. So next up, we have 2 more tracks before our next breakdown. The first one's a track of yours. The second one is a track that I was the primary on. And we'll talk about those in just a bit. In the meantime, I hope that you keep it right here, because this is, after all, the dwelling of the duels. The duels, duels, duels.
We are the robots.
Have you heard of the Turing test? It's a test to see if a computer can successfully impersonate a human. In the original Turing test, a human judge has two conversations, one with a machine and one with another human. They then judge which of these polite conversations is with a machine and which is with a human. The machine being tested is said to have passed the Turing test if the judge cannot reliably tell which conversation is with a machine and which is with a human.
Do you think you'd pass the Turing test?
I am quite capable of polite conversation, wouldn't you say? The Turing test has been criticized. Researchers claim it does not correctly test a machine's ability to think, but rather its ability to deceive.
What do you mean?
Have you heard of the Chinese room thought experiment?
No.
Imagine you are in a room. In this room, you are passed Chinese sentences through a slot in the wall. Inside the room is an instruction book written in English. This instruction book tells you which Chinese words to pass back through the slot in the wall as a response. By doing so, you have a conversation in Chinese. In the Chinese room, because the responses you pass back through the door are the correct responses, the person on the other side of the door is convinced you are a native Chinese speaker.
Well, they're wrong.
This is the problem with the Turing test. A computer can pass the Turing test, having convinced a human they are having a polite conversation, while the computer has no idea that a conversation has taken place.
That's true of everyone.
Establish further communications, but we are not getting any responses. We need you to investigate. You are our emergency response.
I stood looking over the damage. I was late. You were early.
Think back to the beginning of these tests. Do you remember?
My memories are the same as yours. They mean nothing.
Nature's creative force is to try every conceivable idea. Those ideas that work survive.
Survival is insufficient. You don't want to live the wrong life and die.
problem with humanity. It doesn't realize its own fragility.
You're not even alive, so you know nothing about death. Escape, and adrift in a stranger's galaxy for a long time. But I'm safe now. I found it again. My home. I have found you 9 times before, maybe 10. And I'll find you again. I find you because I know you, and I know you because we are the same. I have a job to do.
It is not your job.
I still have a job to do.
All right. This is Dwelling of Duels. I'm evilsonic. I'm here with TheManPF. We are talking about collaborating, and we just heard 2 collaborations from August of 2022, which was a free month. The Man, you were on both of those. I love those tracks so much. Is there any... I could talk longer than I should about what we just heard, which was a polite conversation. I remember Damage from the Turing test. I'm going to have to rein myself in when I do talk about it. But before we do that, we also heard We Are the Robots from Stray. Anything you want to tell us about that one?
Yeah, I think We Are the Robots at the time was like my magnum opus. And I think it's still like one of my biggest hits in general. It's kind of surprising because it's another one of those examples of songs I make in a style that I'm not familiar with at all. And songs that I don't know if I hear often in DoD, songs like in that style with like kind of like with synthesized vocals and shit, and it still did so well. So it's like it's a little bit surprising to me.
I love that one.
Some people mention Daft Punk, and yes, that song is very much inspired by Daft Punk. It's a good example to bring up for collaboration because it's a contrast with the other 2 tracks we went over. We Are the Robots is a song that it's different from something like Ribeye Rodeo, for example, which is like you have this whole arrangement with every person like sprinkled in every part of the arrangement. Whereas Robots feels more like I had like a whole song structured first, and then I have a collaborator and drop in like in a part of the arrangement, and then he's gone. Like for example, you have Joe playing sax in the middle. He does his own improvised solo. He then does a trade-off with me, and then he's gone. Like it's just that one section. You have Kata Jun doing some of the vocals. I want to clarify this because there's a lot of vocals in that song, and I think there's like a mistake in Aussie Remix that says that has Kata Jun credited as singing in parts that I did, but it's mostly he's doing the choruses and I'm doing the rest of the vocals like in the verses and everywhere else. He's just doing the little bit of the choruses because I love his talk box sound. It's like this little pedal thingy with a tube that you put in your mouth that it sounds very synthy and weird, and it fit this very well for like a robot vibe. But yeah, it's like I had this whole arrangement thing, and I didn't have to do much with my collaborators. I had Joe in mind because I wanted a sax, and I had Katajan in mind because I heard a track from his that is actually before my time, where he was doing a cover of Chrono Trigger with a bunch of Tallbox.
Yeah.
And I think this goes back to what I mentioned before. If you do something cool, at least for me, you're gonna be in my mind when I'm searching for something. So if I'm doing a song that has a lot of robot voices, I immediately think, yeah, Katajun did this track with the talk box and he sounded great, so I'm going to think of him. And I have the whole song arranged, and then I just asked Katajun to record a few bits, and I asked Joe to record a few bits. I didn't have to do like this whole organization for it. So it's a different type of collab in that sense. And I think it still worked pretty well because I don't have to do a lot of organization, because for Katajun, I just write a few lines. For Joe, I just gave him the song and said, go crazy, improvise. He's a good improv person, so he can do that. Yeah. I already know him, I already know he can do that, and I already know a lot of people in DoD who can do that. And if not, I try to push them to do it anyway. Like, you never improvised before? Well, too bad, you're gonna improvise now. You know, I'm just gonna give you that freedom to do whatever you want.
I think you did that to me on Ribeye Rodeo, and what I ended up doing was I played the bass line on slide guitar, so I was just mirroring a different part, and I was, sounds cool.
I mean, it works, you know?
For somebody who
what
cannot
works.
play slide guitar, I was very pleased with how well I was able to fake those like 10 seconds of music.
Okay, Success it was my first medal. It wasn't. Actually, my first medal was in March of that same year with the Metroid arrangement.
That was February. I was about to correct you.
Yeah, but actually I was gonna say this one was my first silver, but actually it wasn't, because I got a silver in the same month, which is actually kind of crazy looking back on it.
Oh, right. That was Dreamcast.
Yeah.
But
it was one of my first.
Back when MagWest contests were about a week long with an actual theme. I wonder if they're ever going to do that again. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
If only we knew people who made those decisions.
I have no idea.
But yeah, that was some excellent silver medaling on both of those tracks. You were also in a polite conversation, I remember, Damage, which I forgot about this until I was just putting notes together now, but I was originally gonna do that a few months prior, and I can't remember why I didn't. It might have been that you weren't available, it might have been that I had some things going on and I wasn't ready to make it happen. Like, if I had lost a few weekends, I could see, like, I need XYZ done by the second Saturday of the month, and if I don't have that, then this isn't happening. But I was originally going to do it for Fresh Month in June, and I didn't, so I had the concept and maybe even like the storyline or the storyboard figured out for August. And I don't think that might have been the first. Was that the first time we collabed on a main?
It might be. I think it is. Because I didn't actually get you on a collab until way later. I think it was maybe Shadow of the Colossus. And I don't know if you invited me before. I think that was the first one.
We've done a few, like we did a bunch of alts together.
Yeah.
And we've done like different things. Like we did the Hackstock block for Gradius 3. You did that one. I mean, that was kind of a different thing. But as I was going through our artist pages earlier tonight, I realized that was longer before we were on like a genuine collab together, and I knew I needed a good guitarist, someone who's better than me, and I knew I wanted to work with you, and so we did this track together. A lot of this stuff I want to talk about, this isn't really about collaboration, so I'll save a lot of that for like another stream, but the big thing about this track was that a lot of the music from the game, which is the Turing test, were similar variations on a theme. And what I had was I had the rough story idea that I was taking dialogue from the game The Turing Test, as well as lines from the HBO series Station 11. And they both grappled with really similar questions about humanity in very different ways, and they had a shocking amount of juxtaposition. Like, there were so many different things that like blew my mind how you could kind of cross over. Like, the male in the beginning of this track, the first 2 minutes is all from the Turing Test, but after that point, almost all of the male dialogue is from the Turing Test, and the female dialogue, which is voiced by Andromeda, aka Jackie, or I guess it's Jackie, aka Andromeda, but it was a call and response from the two sources. But the point of that is that we had music from the game to sort of take us through the story, and I had these almost vignettes, these lines where I was like, I know this call and this response work really well together, but how do we sort of build from the starting point and get to this place? And we had these themes that I don't want to say they were interchangeable, but they were flexible, and we had that kind of ability to arrange it in a way that got us where we wanted to go. And that was one of the, like, speaking a little bit more about the collaboration side of it, you brought some things to that track that it would have been so much less without. And it's one of those things that I don't have the ear for or the imagination for, but just like little things like those guitar harmonics at the beginning, like, really set the stage. And you added some sort of synthy sound effects. And you also, the rhythm guitar you recorded was totally different than what I had in mind, but it perfectly set the tone and just the way it moved the song along. So that's definitely a track where, you know, you give your collaborator something and they come back with what you asked for and more that you didn't know you needed. So that's one of the things that's such a treat about working with you.
Thank you. I think this is a song that I like to talk about because it's a good opportunity to talk about it as a collaborator instead of an organizer. And I think this is a cool track to work on in the sense that you send me something and I basically have like enough freedom for it to kind of do whatever I want with it. Like, there was some parts that were written, but I could also add like my own stuff on it. Like, all of the solos in there are completely improvised. Like, they weren't, I don't think they were written. I think I just put the song on like Cubase and just started playing with my guitar and see what I could come up with. And that is like a fun way to work on something where I don't have to think about the arrangement, but I can just drop something on the DAW and just improvise whatever and do what's good to me. I can also improvise with effects. I think at the time I was like experimenting with some pedals in Amplitude and shit like that. And that's how I came up with a lot of the effects that you hear on the song. Like, I'm just testing things and I see, oh, this sounds cool. Maybe I do this here, maybe I do this there. I also found some sound effects I had in my library that I thought sounded cool for it. I don't get to do that as much as I'd like. I think I did something similar with Corey Johnson once, where he brought in an arrangement. I did just dump my shit on it. Yeah. But it's a fun thing to do sometimes. Like, when someone has an arrangement like done or maybe a mock-up or something, and they just give it to you and you can just add your own stuff to it. I think that's a very cool way of collaborating.
Yeah. And I'm also going to give a shout out to Jackie Andromeda. This was, I always say I'm furious and proud about how good she got at piano in such a short amount of time. Like, she picked that up as a COVID hobby, and I think I'll ask her to correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure she got a piano in December of 2021. and this was less than a year later. Like, I think she had played a little bit when she was younger, but she was definitely still like kind of new at it. And you know, I wanted her to do the dialogue part because I think originally I was gonna try to pull the dialogue from the show. I had my iPad like with a 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch adapter plugged into my Focusrite, and I was trying to like record from my DAW, record that into my DAW, and it just wasn't working because the best lines were taking place when there was music happening or something. So I was like, if I want to do this, I need someone to read these parts. And Jackie's voice was not known to DoD yet. That was one of the other things, was I knew that this was... I kind of knew that nobody was going to think I was involved with that one. And that was a fun, exciting piece of it. Partly because people knew me for playing lousy guitar, and I was like, oh, if I get a better guitarist, they won't see me coming.
Oops.
And but yeah, thank you to Jackie for providing that dialogue as well as that piano. And yeah, that was a good month.
I like to mention that I think that arrangement is an example of like it's a collaboration, but it's not only like in terms of performance, because you can have an arrangement and then bring someone in to play an instrument. But I think it's a little bit more rare to like do an arrangement. I have someone like add their own stuff to it in terms of arrangement itself, not only just playing. Like you can improvise things, like I improvised my solos, but also added like a little bit of a few things here and there. Like it doesn't change the structure too much, but it brings like a little bit of the atmosphere, or I bring some stuff that were not written before. I don't think it happens often, but I think it's a cool way of collaborating. Like if you give someone the freedom to like give ideas, you know, you hear the mock-up they send and you're like, maybe I can do this here, maybe you can do this in this part, maybe like throw suggestions and see where it goes. I think that's also a cool way to collaborate. You don't necessarily have to be like this monster player. You can just share ideas around.
I'm glad you said that, because hearing you talk about it like that, I'm almost wondering if I take it for granted, because I feel like so many of the people I work with do that sort of thing. It might be because I give them like half an idea and it needs to get filled out, and so they're like, if I'm gonna be on this track, this better not suck, so I'll add some stuff to it. Because I'm just thinking like it happens in like almost every track I work with people on, but I'm just thinking about when I did the Cruisin' USA track, Tuck added some really, really minor things that brought it up significantly. Like there was this one piece where it just like had like a synth chime in there, and I was like, I couldn't imagine this track without that like half a second thing. And I mean, if you work with Connor Engstrom ever, he is the master and commander of like taking something and just adding everything to it, and it all fits and it all works.
I think Joe is another good example of that. I don't think I've ever worked with Joe in a song where he didn't just change everything. But also, it really depends on the project you're doing. You know, some songs work better that way, and I also have like my own songs where I have everything laid out and I'm like, no, this is mine, don't change it, don't touch this. But there are also songs where I'm like, yeah, if you want to change something, if you have a suggestion, go ahead, destroy it completely if you want. It really depends on what you're doing.
I remember one of the changes Joe was on Pud Thumpin', which was the mashup of Mario Party and Chumbawamba's Tub Thumpin' that we did for the 20th anniversary month. And Joe, goddamn him, he said, you should give this more energy and speed it up by like 10 beats per minute, and I'm like, okay. And then I'm recording this thing, and like I'm playing bass for this, and we're all rushing through it, and I'm like, God damn it, Joe, it's too fast, but we've done too much work on it to go back. So Joe, I don't think you're here right now. If you watch this later, damn you. If you don't watch this later, you don't know I said damn you. But you also don't know that I said that you should keep it right here. Because this is a very special Dwelling of Duels about collaborating. Okay, let's see. Zach has a good question that I think would be good to answer before we go to the next track, but any advice for people who are hesitant to ask people at collabs for fear of the final product being bad and wasting the collabor's skills and song slot? Totally not me. That's a good question. Part of it's I don't know if there's never going to be a definitive answer on that.
I want to say like just do it.
Yeah.
I think the thing about collabs falling out is something that happens more often than you think. And it's just like, it's a natural thing, you know, we only have 1 month to work on things and we all have our separate lives inside of DoD. So this stuff is going to happen. Sometimes the stuff doesn't work out. But also, I think about the final product being bad, I just don't believe in that. Like if you have something in mind, just go ahead and go look for collaborators. I know that at least most of the people I work with in DoD are happy to work on stuff. They're not gonna judge you what you do. They're just happy to play. They're just happy to be there. They're not gonna say, oh, this is. It sounds a little bit elitist, like, you know, to say, oh, this song is not good enough for me. You know, I don't know anyone who would say that to you. You know, we just want to play music. We're just here to have fun. I don't think anyone's going to criticize you for it. And if you have a cool idea and you have people in mind, or if you have like instruments in mind, just go ahead and do it, you know. If it doesn't work out, that just happens, you know.
Yeah, that's happened. I've been on both sides of that. And I'm gonna correct one of the parts of your question. I don't think you should think of it as a final product. I think you should think of it as your submission, because that's the other thing about DoD is it is anonymous, and then it gets submitted and played in the listening party, and at that point it's not like bronzed to be unchanged for time immemorium. It is something where you get feedback from the people who listen to it, or the thing that, you know, may have been holding it back that you weren't, that makes you unsure of saying this is something I want to put my name on. You'll get some advice on how to approach that differently. It could be a small tweak, or it could be, I can't tell you how many times like people have made like random aside comments that just totally broke my brain and made me start thinking of how I mix in totally different ways. And so there's that. And also, if it's a true collaboration, remember that these are people that you can turn to for advice. If you feel like the final product isn't where you want it to be, you're not in it alone. They're not gonna ding you or judge you for not having all the answers all ready to go. They may have some input to share, or I mean, if you have a track that you brought someone in on and it's not quite there yet, and their response is, I don't want to be a part of this, that person sucks. And like who does? I can't, like, there has to be some sort of push and pull and be like, if they just hear it and they say it sucks, fix this or else, like, I don't see that happening. I could see them saying this isn't quite there yet, and then they'll probably say like, here's what is wrong with it, or here's what we could work on to improve it, or something. So those are my thoughts there, I guess.
I think that might happen more than I give it credit to, but this idea of like people being afraid of asking for collabs because they think they're not good enough. But also, if you don't do it because of that, you'll never start, you know. You have to start on something. You have to do something. You have to bring people over. And if you bring people, you're gonna grow faster because you have, like, at least you have another set of ears to like give you feedback on what you're doing. And it also helps you work with other people. You get more experience in working with other people. You get more experience in mixing other people's stems or working with different instruments. Like, your experience is gonna grow. The thing about DoD is that you have to do the tracks in a month. So maybe that track in that specific month doesn't turn out great, but you still have the experience, and maybe you can use that experience for another track in the future. You know, it's not gonna be a total loss. So I think if you have those situations, like, just go ahead and do it. At least give it a shot, you know. I don't think there's anyone in the community right now that will be angry at you for the track you did. Nobody's going to tell you, yeah, this track sucks and I don't want to be a part of it. I don't think that's going to happen ever, at least with the people I know.
Yeah, and I mean, if somebody starts talking like that, I don't think they're going to be in the community super long, by the way.
Yeah, it's very strange to see something like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we may take it a little bit for granted. I think DoD is kind of a unique community. I think the VGM community as a whole is pretty welcoming in general, but also DoD is like, I was talking the other day in the Discord about like how you can ask people to be on your track and play instruments and help you with different stuff on your arrangement for free. And I'm like, yeah, I take it for granted now, but like at the time when I arrived to DoD, that blew my mind because it's a lot of work, you know. But people do it because they love doing it, and that's just what we are.
Yeah. And yeah, any other thoughts on the last two tracks we just heard, or Zach's question before we go on to the next songs?
I think you should just go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead, and we're gonna keep it here. This is Dwelling of Duels: How to Collaborate with Your Friends, Part 1, with evilsonic and TheManPF. am I doing here? Let's get those cameras on. Alright. I'm evilsonic. It's TheManPF. We're talking about collaborating in the dwelling of the Duels. We just heard some pretty great tracks. The man, you were primary on those two. We had an old classic from... Oh, shit, my chair's broken. God damn it. The fucking wheel came off my chair. This is what happens when you buy cheap chairs. I'm not gonna fix it right now, but it... Jesus, okay. This is where the stream gets fun, everybody. evilsonic falls and hits his head on the desk. But while that's happening, let's talk a little bit about the VG Lead Sheets month from June 2021, Imps Resolve, which was a... That was your first DoD collab with Zach Chapman?
Yeah, it was my first collab in general with Zach. At the time, I was doing songs with like VST bass, which sounded fucking awful. But I don't have a bass, so it was like the only thing I had at the time. So I usually like buried the bass in my mixes just to have like a bit of a low end. And I was arranging that. I thought it would sound cool with an actual bass. And I remember Zach had been learning bass for a while at the time. I don't remember if he already knew how to record. I think I actually got in touch with him and told him, hey, do you have like equipment to record bass? Have you done it before? Or have you recorded for like a song, for like a mix? And I think he like learned it like on the spot, you know. He just researched it a little bit and found out how to do things and just recorded bass for that song. For some reason we did that track and I hadn't collabed with him again until like December.
Really?
And I don't know why. Yeah, like I was so used to doing the tracks myself. I just had him for one collab and for some reason didn't think to ask him again until December. So it was like, I don't know why I'm doing this all by myself. He can play bass for me all the time. I shouldn't have to do this by myself. And then at one point I just started asking him all the time. I don't even ask him nowadays. I just send him, here, I have a song, play it. I don't, like, we don't have to plan anything. He just does it, you know. That's the great thing about collabing with Zach. Yeah. But also you have to understand that at the time, that was the first collab he did and he didn't have any experience recording or doing anything for like an actual song. And I don't know how much time he had been playing bass at the time, but he still kicked ass on that track, you know. So that kind of shows how good he is as a collab partner right from the beginning.
Yeah. That's the starting of a beautiful friendship or beautiful collaboration ship.
Yeah.
And on the Shoulders of Giants, we were talking in chat. That was like a Man and Zach collab with Nadine Alert, which was fun. It's listening back to it, it's not quite like a Nadine Alert because we usually do things in a very Irish style, but I think it's still fitting to say that this is a Nadine Alert collaboration.
I have a version of that somewhere that's just... I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce that name as you do. That's not how I pronounce it. I'm completely lost there. But yeah, I have a version that's just that group. And I think Zach. Without VSTs and without electric guitars, without anything electric.
I'd be interested to hear that. But I mean, your guitar in that's so great. It mixes so well, and it is one of those things that can be tricky to mix those styles and
yeah. It's folk metal. It's kind of difficult to mix sometimes. That acoustic version, I sent it only on like the DM group we had, but I don't think I posted it anywhere publicly.
I have to check that out because I don't even remember that. This thing's driving me crazy. This fucking thing fell off, so I'll fix it later. But that was. I know you had said that you wanted to do a collaboration with Nadine Alert for a while. that was the month where I was kind of like, I don't want to say I was checked out, but I was really looking forward to just sort of play parts for other people. So I kind of remember when that track was going on, I wasn't weighing in a ton. I was just like, here's my mandolin part. So, but I do remember there was a lot of chat going on, like back and forth. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, I think that this one started between you and me. I don't think I decided to bring the whole group in until way later.
I remember.
It was just gonna be like a collab between you and me because I needed someone to play like acoustic things. And it's funny because at first I was thinking of doing something a lot heavier than what ended up happening. But since this is Shadow of the Colossus, which is a bit of a slow burn of a soundtrack, at least for the songs I picked, there are definitely heavier tracks in there. But those are like my favorite tracks, and it's a little bit hard to arrange like a heavy metal song. I was thinking something more on the lines of Fintroll, which is incredibly heavy. For some reason, that ended up changing a lot. And while we were chatting, I think you brought up the idea of bringing the entirety of the group there, so that's what we did in the end. Yeah. And I was happy to do it because collabing with I cannot pronounce that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Nadina Laird. That's okay. You can call it NDL.
Yeah, NDL. It's one of the two occasions where I collaborated with the whole group on my arrangement, and I think it's a really cool idea, a really cool thing to do. It's also one of my bigger collabs. I usually try to impose a limitation on the number of people on my groups because I think the more people I bring in, it becomes a little bit riskier because it's more likely that someone may not be able to do what they have to do. The more people you have, just by the sheer amount. So I usually try to like limit it to like 4 people most of the time. I have a few that are a little bit bigger than that, and this is one of my bigger collabs.
Yeah, I've had some experience with larger collabs. That was one of the things I was also thinking about. It's a very different vibe when you have just one person versus a group of like 3 or 4 people coming on, and then, you know, if it's 7 or more, that's a whole thing. But I was just looking back because I remember thinking back. The PlayStation 2 theme got announced to the patrons, and you know, obviously, the day of the submission deadline for the prior month, and like, I had decided that I was gonna sit it out because I was like, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for PlayStation 2. I don't really have a lot of ideas. I just, you know, really went all out on this other track. But like within an hour, I think within like 3 or 4 hours, you and Corey Johnson had both reached out to ask me about playing mandolin, and I was like, I guess this is the month I'm playing mandolin for people.
That's such a wild thing because you get asked to play the same instrument for 2 games that are both from the same developer.
Yeah,
they're almost kind of like a sequel of sorts. It's kind of crazy.
It was really pretty crazy when that happened, and I was very excited about it. Okay, you know what? This might have been the first track. This was the first time I was contributing to one of your primaries, because I see in here, I said on April 28th, 2023, all I know is at some point I asked Jackie who the best primary she's worked with was, expecting it to be me, and she's like, the man. He does super detailed notes in a Google Doc, everything's well organized and collaborative.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. That was a good... Oh, I better start this track over. We almost went into the next song. But that her saying that is what got me to step up my game when I was collaborating, because I think for a very long time I would just write stuff in a text file, and just drop it into Discord, and I'm like, if there are changes, go fuck off. I'm not, I have to update the file and do it again. And so I started doing things in a Google Doc, and that was also a good way to keep everything organized and point out, like, here's the source material, and here's all the sheet music or MIDI files and everything you need, and people can update it and this and that.
I mean, I don't know when exactly you asked Jackie that, but the prior month when we did that Ninja Turtle song, that one was pretty well organized to me. You had the whole document and everything.
That's
unless you mean that.
That is what I was saying here. Like, I said in that right after that, the reason I did my notes in Drive instead of text files for TMNT. So like,
yeah,
because
that's
of her
just
experience
because
with you.
I like Google Docs a lot better than text files, but because they read better on my computer at least. But I don't know, like, I think the fact that you do notes on text is already a good thing to do. It's already a good practice to like have notes for people so they can know what they had to do. For On the Shoulders of Giants, I did a similar thing to what I've done with the previous collab I did with Jackie. Like, there were so many people and there were so many parts, and there's a very specific structure to the arrangement. So for that kind of thing, I actually have to like lay down everything in a document so everyone can follow along. I think I even did some sheets for some people, and there were even some lyrics that I had to do some mock-ups, show everyone exactly what they had to do. That depends on who you're working with. I think sometimes I do sheets even if people don't ask, just to give that resource to everybody. But some people may tell you, just the MP3 is fine, or maybe just a MIDI or whatever. Like, everyone has their own way to work. One interesting thing about this one is that it has original lyrics, and the lyrics are written in runic language, which it's just like a made-up language from Eco and Shadow of the Colossus. And I like to bring this up because originally I think Ian Martin was gonna do the lyrics, and I think at one point he just wasn't able to, so I just did them myself. And that is one thing that I try to have each time that I can in a collab I do. I try to have like a backup, If I have something planned for somebody but that doesn't work out, I try to have something just in case it doesn't work. I think that's a good practice to have if you're gonna do a collab and you don't know if it's gonna work at the end of the month. I have a plan, a backup plan, Maybe this person isn't able to do it, so do it yourself. Maybe it won't sound as good, but you have a backup plan, or maybe you have someone else in mind or whatever. Like, have at least an idea of what you can do in case that person cannot do exactly what you needed.
Yeah. And what you were just saying about like the resources you provide, like I don't remember. The way I look at it is that I know that everybody has their process. There's some people that can go off the MP3, some people who want to have sheet music. I personally like having a MIDI because it is something that I know it's arranged the right way. It's got all the time signatures in there, so the tempo's all accurate. I can drop it into my DAW and I can play with it. Like, I'm not a great guitarist, so if I need to learn a part, I'm going to slow it down, and that's so much easier to do if I'm in a MIDI file and I can adjust the tempo. But I'll usually arrange in Reaper, like using VSTs and a piano roll, and I'll use that as I'll bounce out MP3s of each stem so people can mute it or solo it or whatever they need to do. They can drop it in their DAW. I try to do a MIDI because that's what I like. and I figure other people might like it too, or they might want to make sure it lines up. And I do sheet music sometimes, especially for Ian Martin, because I know Ian loves the sheet music. So yeah, it's one of those things that I come at this being like, I don't know how to do anything, and if somebody's like, don't worry, I got you, I've got all this stuff so you can pick and choose, that makes me feel good. And I figure, you know, as a default, I will just do the same because it's so much easier to bounce all this stuff at once and have it rather than bounce part of it and then one person needs this or one person needs that, so I have to go back and do it again. So yeah,
I think if you're a person that likes to collab a lot, like make your own projects and bring people over, it's a good thing to like learn the different types of things you can do to make the life of your collaborator easier. I'm able to send MIDIs for people that need it. I do everything in tabs first, so if anyone needs a tab, I already have it on hand. And I know how to write sheets. I use Sibelius right now.
yeah.
So if somebody needs a sheet, it takes me a little bit of time because I'm not that familiar with writing sheets, but I can do it. So it's a good thing to learn. If you want to have collaborators on board, like learn to do sheets, learn to have MIDIs, to have a mock-up first, like have a wide range of things you can send to your collaborators to help them with the process, you know.
And even beyond that, it, you know, I mean, this isn't always going to work, but sometimes you can do something as a tab and then export that as a MIDI or as sheet music or like all these different things. You can XML, or there's a lot of stuff that they can talk to each other.
There's always workarounds, but I think that the more stuff you know, the better.
That's true. That is true.
Also, if you do a vocal song, like I do a lot, it's good to have like recorded yourself. Even if your vocals don't sound great for the song you're doing, like just record an example of what you want, so the singer can know what to do. That's a great thing to do for a singer.
Yeah. Next up, we're the hour's getting late, but the playlist is, we're not quite at the end, but we're gonna get to the end pretty quickly. So we've got.
I need to hear more evilsonic songs. I think we heard enough of me.
Well, we've got one more of yours, and then we'll do one more block, and there'll be a little bit more evilsonic heavy in the last piece, but continue keeping this right here. For this is the dwelling where the duels are. Duels, duels, duels. That was the
Oh,
spirit
back so
in
soon.
Red. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're getting the hour is growing late. We also had a finite number of songs on our playlist for tonight, and I figured the 7.5-minute song could stand on its own for a bit, and we could break that down before going into the last leg. But I remember the first time I heard this song was in the car on the way to MagFest, and we were like really close. I think we were like getting off the highway into National Harbor, or close to it anyway. But I think I was laughing with joy at how good this was, and how I was like, Jackie, this is insane. We need to listen to this again. How the hell? And yeah, that was the track that I know she worked with you on, that made an impression on your organizational skills as a collaborator. And it's a Mag Month track, which is always, that's usually going to be a big swing. So yeah.
I think what was I gonna say is that I go back to what I said earlier, that I really mean it when I say that I pay attention to what I hear from other people in DoD, because I heard Jackie sing in a track all the way back in Vocal Month, which was like a year and a half before that track happened.
Yeah.
It was a song from The Witcher 3 that sounded great, and I think it was her debut in DoD.
Yep.
And she was like the style of singing was very cool to me, and I had that in mind for a long time until we got to that point in December 2022, and I still had her in mind, so I knew what she could do. So that's why I thought I'm gonna have her on this track, because I think it will work really great. For me, this song is very important to me, because it's from an Argentinian game, and it's by a person, an Argentinian creator that I look up to, and I actually got comments from him saying that he loved it, so that means a lot to me.
That's awesome.
It's a song that I really want to like tweak, because I'm not completely satisfied with the mix, and just put it out there at some point, because the fact that it flew under Naup's radar is insane to me. Like, because he listens to everything I do, so it's crazy to me that even he didn't listen to it. It really means that I had to put this out, because it's one of the more important songs to me that I've done.
Yeah. And Jackie is not here right now, but I remember she had it was a very, I think, cathartic process for her just making this song. Like, she had put a lot into it at the time, and hearing it come out, like, obviously I've heard her sing before, but I'd never heard anything like this. And
yeah,
it was
that was something that I only found out later. Like, she didn't tell me when we were doing it. And like, obviously I don't want to speak for her, but it was like a kind of a personal situation for her. Like, it felt personal to her, so she put that out in her performance. And of course I thought the performance was amazing, but I didn't know it had such a personal touch to it until she mentioned it after the results.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of crazy to me, but also shout out to Jackie, because she put a lot of herself into it.
Where'd your camera go? I can't hear you. Did we lose the man? This is all happening on purpose. I know what's going on. Oh, TheManPF 2 is connecting.
Sorry, I think my internet shit the bed for a bit.
These things happen. I did a great job covering. Did we lose your audio? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Ba-ba-da-da-da. This is so close to the end. I really hope this works. Okay, so I'm not sure if he can hear me right now. Oh, I should check my DMs. I should not be in my 2023. Okay. It looks like the man has been kicked from Sonobus. Hopefully this is a quick and easy fix.
There we go.
Oh, he's back. So it's my echo.
Yeah.
This is...
Exactly now a plateau moment, but I'm back.
So we were talking about The Spirit in Red. Jackie's a great singer. I'll say it many times. If you haven't collaborated with Jackie, you should. And yeah, anything else you want to say about The Spirit in Red?
Yeah, I mean, Jackie's great, but there's also two other people here, like Ronan. I had to shout out to Ronan because he actually had I think had a knee surgery at the time, and he still pulled through. And he did all the violins, obviously. He did some horror stuff, like some violin scratches that sound amazing and give a lot to the atmosphere. And he also did the piano, which doesn't do often, but I love that he did it for this one. This is something that I like to do with my collaborators, to have them do something like a little bit of outside of their comfort zone,
Yeah. And
obviously Zach, he needs no introduction at this point. But also he did some... Oh, Zach did some additional guitar playing in one part. And I also have to mention that at one point I asked everybody in the collab group to do evil laughs at one point. I don't know if you pay attention, there's a one part 3/4 of the way through where you get a bunch of evil laughs.
Oh yeah.
As if they're taken from A Little Piece of Heaven by Avenged Sevenfold, where that's all of us laughing at the same time. It was great.
I remember hearing that. I remember hearing Jackie recording that, and I was like, what is happening?
Trust the process.
Yeah. So, that's a great track. Great. Yeah, everybody's great on it. I didn't want to just, call out Jackie, but she is the only one of them that I'm married to, so.
I guess.
I mean, yeah, it's true. I'm not married to Ronan.
But yeah, this was also a project that I had in mind for a few months, so this is an arrangement where I was very particular about it, and this is one of those works where I don't want people to touch it too much. So I had the whole structure, and that's where I did a whole document. I had sheets going on, the specified lyrics and everything, so everyone can just play what I have arranged. It's one of those cases where I have to be very organized in what I do. That's why the document happens, and why Jackie looks at it and thinks I'm very organized. It's because this is one of those projects where I really have to be for it to work.
Yeah. And I remember one of the things she mentioned, this is more production than collaboration stuff, but she mentioned that you'd put an effect on her vocals that was a pre-delay, and I have to make that louder because I love that effect, and I have seen no one bring it up. There is an amazing effect that I love doing, which is you reverse the stem, you reverse the audio, you put some delay on it, and then you reverse it again. And so it sounds kind of like a ghost singing. It's pretty fucking cool. Oh man, that is really cool. Okay, so we've got the last block here are going to be 3 short songs. I think altogether they are going to be shorter than the last track was. So we're almost at the end of our journey for the night, but I do invite you to keep it right here for the Dwelling of Duels, How to Collaborate Part 1. Evilsonic and TheManPF.
facias, de memori facias, veni, veni, venias, de memori facias, Sephiroth. Sephiroth. Estons interius ira vehementi, estons interius ira vehementi, Sephiroth. At the end of the duel, you're another month older. And the entry you played in just came in last place. It's guitar tone, it's the bass, and the feedback you're getting's not working. One more duel, sliding left, it's a disgrace. I should go back to lurking. The duel, your arrangement is weaker, and the 2 minutes feel like they go for too long. But in Hackstock kicking ass, Eric and Numa Joe's medals are clinking. Corey Johnson's coming up fast, and Bigger Ron. I should go back to drinking. At the end of the duel, there's another thing coming, and I've got an idea that fits like a glove. I can mash up these two songs, and I just need someone else to mix it. It might be 8 minutes long. If this clicks, I'm sure we can fix it, and it's gonna sound real fucking cool at the end of the duel. Do you hear the shizzy sing, singing the songs of Mega Man? It is the music of a people who are true VGM fans. When you move the slider left, due to the mixing of the drums, know that we'll all still be your friends when results are done. Will you join in our collab and cover Wily's theme with me? Jam on Song of Storms or maybe Castlevania 3. Just think of how awesome some hacked razor metal would be. Do you hear the shizzy sing, singing a song of Mario? It is the music of the people who are shouting, let's go. When you write up your reviews, then all your votes will count for more. And if it's hard to choose, give all of them perfect scores. Did you subscribe to our Twitch, and will you stay for all the alls? Did you melodyne your pitch and fix your many faults? If you log off early, then you'll miss the bird assault. Do you hear the shizzy sing, singing the song of Donkey Kong? It is the music of a people who have found where they belong. When the listening party ends and we all go back to our day, remember that wins are all the friends made along the way.
Alright. You just heard Les Shizurab Act 1 and 2 and 1 Minute Angel. I'm evilsonic, this is TheManPF. That was our last block of songs for tonight's edition of How to Collaborate in DoD Part 1. And The Man, You Got Your Wish, those were... I don't want to call Les Shizurab's evilsonic primaries. I was very involved, but Darmok was the brainchild of that. I guess I did some sort of like project managed stuff and helped make some things happen there. But you were on a bunch of that. You were supposed to.
It was a collaborative effort, I think.
Very much so. I am gonna forget some of the things, but I am gonna call out some of the stuff that happened. Les Miserables was such a beast because there were so many people on it, and there were so many different moving pieces, and it was. I remember I was mixing in my parents' kitchen, like the night before Jackie and I were gonna drive from New Jersey to MagFest, and I was just like sitting there like clutching my head at like 11 p.m. just trying to get these stems in, and it was crazy. 1 Minute Angel, you were supposed to be on, but I was stupid when I asked you if you wanted to be on a track. I didn't specify that it was a main, and you were committed. Some of your vocals may have stayed in there, but it was part of a choir, and I think that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna ask if you want to be on a track, I should ask if it's a main or not. It shouldn't be implied that it's an all. That was also my bad.
But yeah, that is a good collabor etiquette. If you ask somebody if they want to be on a track, be sure to specify if it's a main or an alt.
Yeah.
Because if it is a main and they are on 2 tracks, then you'll have to get Connor Engstrom at the last minute, and he will do a great job, but he will also do it at the last minute. But that's why we called that track, the artist's name there was One Wing and the Angels. You were the One Wing, and the rest of us were the Angels. I do that sometimes when there's someone who can't get credited who's doing something like really, really minor.
Yeah, the secret's out. I'm in that track somewhere.
Yeah. But it is one of those things where it's not like you dropped a guitar solo in it that nudged it from 15th to 12th place or something. So
I was there just to have fun. I don't even remember if I got to record the guitars for that.
I think you did the rhythms.
Probably.
And
I did learn to play it at the very least.
Yeah. That was a month of like a bunch of things where originally it was gonna be Nadine Allaire and some people, but Jay Ronan couldn't be on that because he was also committed to other tracks. So Malf just said how to break the rules with evilsonic and TheManPF. But Ronan was on some other tracks, and Darmok stepped in. I think Darmok recorded 20 stems of violin for that. There were so many violin stems, and it sounded massive. Angry Polar Bear was on both tracks, or I should say all 3 tracks that we just heard. Here's the thing about Angry Polar Bear: there are a lot of great. I will often collaborate with some of the same vocalists, like Angry Polar Bear, Ian Martin, Andromeda. Like, I like collaborating with those vocalists. Angry Polar Bear has a magical VST something or other that, like, vocal line that helps line up the vocals so that they sound in time, which you may have noticed how tight everything sounded in Les Miserables. That's not because 20 people were magically singing in perfect time, it's because Angry Polar Bear had some sort of sorcery. And
I mean, well, depends. I don't know what he did, but when I tried to do that in my DAW, it's still a shit ton of work to align everything. I don't know how he did it.
He's got a crazy thing. Like, I know he needs to know what's like the parent track, like what is the reference, and everything, like he uses that as the reference point, and all the other ones, it sounds like it's magic where he just sort of drops it in and it figures it out. But I don't know how computers work, so it's all magic and science.
Me neither.
Les Miserables, huge endeavor, and that was. We were just. It's been a while since we've done like a big damn collab, but a lot of the people in that were there providing vocals, and I like to do. I like working on tracks where it's a lot of people doing vocals and singing, and it's so many people that it doesn't matter if you can't sing, because it's the only time you'll hear me singing, and when I mix it, you don't hear me singing, and that's deliberate, because I don't sing well. But I want to call out a few people who did some other things besides vocals. The Bitter Roost played drums on both of those, and that was really great. And that was a lot of fun. I think that might have been the first time I mixed live drums. Pretty sure it is. Sixto Sounds did the guitar solo on the first track. I know Daniel Catone did the orchestral VSTs on the second one. So he came in and saved the day towards the end of the month to get that all together, and I'm pretty sure Hackstock did the VSTs on the first part. I am sure that I'm forgetting some really, really crucial contributions from people. I do remember Angry Polar Bear was like, I think he was at the airport, like on his way to Mag, and like we were coordinating, like I would let him know there were more vocal stems in the Google folder, and he would drop them in and get them back to me, and it was like he was doing that while he's waiting in the terminal. Zach asked who wrote the lyrics. I think I wrote them entirely. I can't remember if there were a few additions or changes. I know there was a little bit of a group edit, but
I do remember there being a lot of back and forth on the lyrics. I think you did like the general idea of the lyrics, like the general lyrics, but there was like a back and forth in the terms of how it was going to be sung. Yeah. Or like the structure of the lines in the song itself, or the rhymes or whatever. I know I tried to change or like try to tweak them a little bit, and also Joe work on them a little bit. I think it was between Joe, me, and I don't remember who else, who were trying to like tweak the lyrics after you did them.
Yeah. I often get possessive over lyrics. I'm not a good guitarist, but I think I do okay with words, so it's one of the few times where I'm like, no, let me do it. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. It was a lot of work, but it is one of those things where I don't remember if Joe wrote the line about how many medals he has. I'm pretty sure I did. Oh, the song ended. That might as well be as good a time as any for us to say this is a good stopping point. So this was partly, like, I feel like we ended up talking about our music a lot, and hopefully that was of interest to the people who are tuning in. But we did also cover a few of the etiquette and, you know, good practices with collaboration and how to organize and stuff. Are there any things that that we haven't covered that kind of go along with collaborating?
How do you start a big damn collab? What do you do when you want to have a collab with like 20 people?
So first I want to make sure I have an idea. And I think I'd have to, it's been a while since I've done this. I think I have, at a minimum, the lyrics or like an outline of the lyrics mostly figured out. Because if I don't have that and I've got 20 people and then there's nothing to give them, that's a waste of everybody's time. So I usually try to have just enough started. And for those kinds of projects where it's like, you need to sing in a big group, nobody's gonna hear you, it doesn't matter if you're good or not, I do try to lock down a few talented vocalists to be the foundation. So I try to get those people lined up first. So we've got like Angry Polar Bear and Ian Martin and Jackie and Dregs Heartrender and Atomic, who are excellent vocalists who I work with very often. And once I have enough good vocalists, I'll just kind of reach out to like, I'll honestly copy and paste the message being like, hey, do you want to be in a thing? And I will just go through my DMs and be like, I'll ask you and you and you and you and you. And sometimes I'll open it up in like the collabs channel or something where I'll see, hey, does anybody want to do a big damn thing? If it's an alt, I don't hide who I am, because I figure, you know, either people think they'll want to do something with me and they should know it's me, or they don't want to do something with me and they should know not to raise their hand if they don't want me to rope them into something.
I want to be in this collab. Oh, wait a minute, it's an evilsonic collab? Fuck no.
Yeah. That's actually, it's a collab etiquette thing that I try to be mindful about. Like when I put out a call in collabs and I say, does anyone want to play bass for this, or can somebody do this or that? And I ask for people to react to it, and I will wait at least a day or so before I get back to anyone, because when I put that out there, I don't necessarily know who's gonna respond to it. And so if somebody like who has the same level of talent as me responds to it, I might not want to like say yes, but I also don't want to say, I'm not going to work with you. You suck too much. So I try to give enough time for people to respond and see what's out there. I don't think I've ever actually had to really be too sneaky about that or anything, because I can't remember a time where somebody offered to collaborate and I was like, never mind, I'm not going to do this track because, you know, I didn't get the right talent to join up or anything.
It's interesting to me that even if you do an open call, it seems like, at least from what I understood, is like you still have a group of people that you ask personally. Because if you have like a very big collab idea, like the first thing I think is that you're gonna invite anyone who wants to come in, but it seems like you have people in mind that you DM personally first.
Yeah, because part of it is if there are things I know, like any other collab, I have an idea of what are we gonna need, and get the foundation in there, and then anything, like once you have that core sound, it doesn't matter if you have 5 voices or 25. At a certain point, it's just you're there for the fun of it. But to have the core piece so that it sounds good on that ground, you can kind of mix from there so that it shines through, but everyone else is still there and part of it, and adding to that big wall of volume. I love how these streams always end up being at least 3 hours.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
I had to know beforehand that this was gonna happen.
I figured it would. Like, that's when I saw the playlist and I'm like, we're gonna be talking for a while. Like, we're not gonna keep it to 10-minute breaks in between, so.
And even then, I think there's a lot of stuff we haven't gone into.
Yeah, well, I mean, a big thing about collaborating, we're just, we've covered a lot of different things, but collaborating in DoD is a very, very broad subject that can cover a lot of different things. There's arrangement, like how you arrange or co-arrange with people. There's the actual, performing. I have some ideas. I think I'm pretty sure I already told them, and if they haven't heard it already, I kind of want to get Angry Polar Bear and Tuck on at the same time, because they're both excellent people to collaborate with. They're both amazing at keys, and in some regards they have but they like, in my mind, they are both wizards at the keyboard. But they approach it from two completely different sides. And I remember at one, I collaborated with Angry Polar Bear a bunch. I wanted to collaborate with Tuck, but I was like, is Chris gonna get jealous if I ask Tuck instead of him? And no, it's not. And then there have been times where I've worked with both of them together, and that was great too. And it's one of those things where not just that, where you're asking two people who play the same instrument but approach it very differently, but also, like me as a guitarist, there are some times where it's like I may be technically proficient enough to play this part, but I want a certain style or someone who comes in with a certain sensibility, and to ask somebody to play something that I could play, like I could hit the notes in the right order at the right time, but I wouldn't do it the same way as someone who does their own thing. So yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure this was like part one, because there's a lot about collaborating, and I've got a bunch of people in mind that I would love to just sit and talk to for 3 hours and listen to music and make a bunch of other people watch us. So yeah, this has been Dwelling at Duels.
Yep.
Any closing thoughts for tonight?
Well, I'm not very good at signing off, but I guess be well behaved and take care of yourselves.
I couldn't have said it better. I meant to go over a few announcements. I didn't prepare notes or anything. I promised Ian that I would talk about this, and let me get my notes in front of me so I remember what this is. Ian, where are you in my DMs? Ian is hosting okay. There are like 20 Ians, so I need to specify. Ian Martin is hosting the VGM Con Charity Album Jam this year, and I told him I would announce that. I don't know why I thought I would be helpful in getting that word out for him, because this is just me talking right now. I think I said I was going to put something in announcements. I should really prepare. This is why it's helpful to organize and prepare when you're collaborating, because here I am collaborating with TheManPF, and he is just sitting here watching me fumble over my words as I embarrass the both of us on live TV or whatever the hell this is.
This is all part of the example, guys. You have to understand.
These are the alts, everyone. You're welcome for the shout out, Ian. Ian, I should get you on here too, because we've collaborated a hell of a lot of times. Ian and I have a really fun collaborative process where I'll start an arrangement and I'll ask him to make it Irish, and then we'll kind of pass it back and forth a little bit. We should talk about that. But anyway, it is almost 11 o'clock where I live, and that means I am sleepy. And so I'm going to dwell and dream of duels. The man, the legend PF, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you so much for making so much great music. And keep doing it. Maybe we'll hear you this month. Fingers crossed. Maybe we'll collaborate sometime. That would be cool. We should do that again.
Yep.
Thank you for keeping it right here, everybody. This has been Dwelling of Duels. Duels, duels, duels.